Hello and welcome to episode 23 of Hunter x Hunter. My reaction to it, that was a bit awkward. But yeah, it's been a couple days since I last recorded because circumstances have just gotten in the way, so I'm itching to get back into this damn show because the time in which circumstances started getting in the way of me being able to watch it corresponds perfectly with me getting really hooked into it, which is just a complete pain in the ass. But I'm back to watch another episode. When we left off, they just managed to get into the Zoldike estate, which is this huge area surrounding a mountain, and there's Mike the dog, who is creepy as fuck, but also kind of cute in a really weird way. a big dog who eats people. Yeah, the guard is with them. The guard is with them, and I guess he's going to guide them through this area because he's gone with them. So I'm still curious how far he's going to actually take them, if he's going to take them the whole way or if he's only going to take them to a certain point and then turn around and go back to his guard duty. I'm very interested. So yeah, it's already the time that it is now is already like the time I would normally be stopping recording for the night. So I've got to get into it. I've got about 2 hours to record. I've set aside a little bit later than usual, but I've got it. I've worked stuff out with some people to get a little bit of extra time. So yeah, let's get going with it. Okay, so this was a fairly straightforward episode in terms of content. It was you could basically divide the episode into two halves, and both of those halves were just about getting past, essentially crossing a line, right? The first one they had to get through the door, and then the second one they had to get past the gate, right? And it's interesting because both of those tested an aspect of your strength. The first one, the gate, tested your physical strength, and then this second one with the butler was a test of mental strength. Now, it wasn't literally a test of mental strength. It wasn't designed to be a test of mental strength, right? The idea was, you come here, I'm going to beat your ass until you leave, but it's Gon, right? Gon doesn't give up. That's just not what he does. It's not in his DNA to give up, right? When he was being born, the part of your brain that tells you to give up eventually, I guess he got lost or something, because he keeps coming no matter what, right? So with the first half, it's very convenient that you're allowed to open it with 3 people. But man, just think how strong Killua must be. That Gon, Kurapika, and Leorio together were just barely able to open the first door, whereas Killua, when he came, like it was nothing, opened the first 3 doors, right? I can't remember, it was 16 tons, was it? Whereas the first door is only 2 tons. So man, that just goes to show how big the difference is between them. That Gon, Leorio, and Kurapika together could barely manage 2 tons, while Killua on his own did 16 tons like it was nothing, right? Well, I mean, I say like it was nothing. I don't really actually see it happen, so who knows? But you get my point, right? He is leagues and bounds stronger than everyone else. Now, of course, physical strength is not the most important thing when it comes to fighting ability, obviously, right? The fact that Killua is 16 times. The fact that Killua is significantly stronger than Gon in terms of actual raw physical strength doesn't mean he is equally better overall in regards to combat, right? The physical strength could be significantly less important than his skill, or vice versa, right? But we don't have any way to quantify his skill or his other abilities. So, for the sake of conversation, let's pretend that we can quantify their ability using these doors, right? It will not at all be accurate, but it's just a thought experiment, right? So, Gon, Leorio, and Kurapika together could barely open 2 tons. So let's be generous and say that each of them is around capable of 1 ton, right? Because Leorio and Kurapika were able to just barely open the door a tiny bit, just the 2 of them, which means they were able to exert around 2 tons of force on their own just for an instant, right? And then you throw Gon into the mix and you're able to push it over. So let's say, for the sake of being nice to them. Let's say each of them is about capable of pushing 1 ton individually, all 3 of them. And again, that's not taking into account the fact that they're going to be at different levels, but again, just bear with me. That would mean that Killua on his own is about 16 times stronger than the rest of them individually, just in terms of raw strength. And again, raw strength is definitely not the most important measure. There's far more important things that measure into how capable a character is, such as their skill and intelligence and all that stuff. But this is a good way to just kind of get a look into just how vast the difference between them is, right? It's a good little way to measure it. And it is a pretty big difference, right? Like, it's not as though Gon is like 5 out of 10 and Killua is like 5.1 out of 10. It's not like a slight difference. It's a pretty big difference. Something tells me that a fight between Gon and Killua would go roughly the same way as the fight between Gon and Hanzo did. Yeah, it would probably be around that. Maybe even worse than that. I'm interested in seeing Killua versus Hanzo now. I want to see how that fight goes. That would be interesting to watch. But we saw them training and using the classic anime weighted clothing, right? So, and lifting all the furniture, which was all weighted as well, to get stronger. That was nice to see, the classic anime trope. How long were they there, though? Right? Like, we saw a sunset. Like, we saw them sleeping, we saw a sunset, so they had to have been there at least 1 day. But to actually build up strength, it takes a while. You don't lift weights for 1 day and all of a sudden the next day you're 10 times stronger, right? That's not how it works. So they have to have been there for at least some length of time. Like, I would say that like a week at least. That's I wouldn't say a week at least using real life logic, but a week at least using anime logic of characters who are able to improve very quickly because it's an anime. Even then, I'd say they had to have been there at least a week, right? To build up enough strength to where their training would actually make a significant difference within the world of anime logic. But it didn't really, unless I'm forgetting, I don't think it actually gave us a proper time frame. But yeah, it's, now that I think about it, how long were they there? But yeah, we also got to see a lot of Killua's family and household, right? Killua's family and household. So we got a glimpse of some of them. We saw during the opening, we saw like the silhouettes of the family, right? It looked like a lot of them were around Killua's age, a lot of the children. We met 3 family members so far. We've met presumably the mother. She looked like some kind of weird cyborg thing, but I think the bandages and all that is because Killua apparently attacked her, like slashed up her face and stuff. And then you've got the daughter that we saw, which I can't remember what her name was. It was like, I can't remember what her name was, but there was a daughter with the black hair. I think it was like purple eyes. There was one hiding in the bushes as well during the during that final half of the episode, but I'm not sure if it was the same girl or a different one. I'm not 100% sure. I might have to go back and double check and compare the eyes and stuff. And there was also the guy who looks like a really fat Levi with the hair. Maybe he's the oldest child, I guess. He was the one in charge of torturing Killua. And it's interesting because the family seems very different from Illumi. Illumi is very emotional. Oh no, he wouldn't be the oldest brother because Illumi is probably older. Okay. But yeah, Illumi is very emotionless, very robotic, almost alien in the way he thinks and acts. The other family members don't seem like that. The fat one, the chubby brother, he seemed a lot more emotional. He got really angry when Killua spoke back to his mum. And maybe that's because he didn't like complete the training properly. Maybe that's why he's chubby, because he's not really like a high... Well, they did say all of them were assassins. I was about to say maybe he didn't succeed in becoming an assassin and that's why he's kind of let himself go and is a bit different mentally. He's a bit more brash and emotional, and maybe that's why. But then I remember they said that all of the family were assassins, so that doesn't really work now that I think about it. Interesting. And yeah, they were not going easy on Killua. This is quite the family. Yeah, that's they had him chained up and were like whipping him. It's like, damn. I mean, I get it. He did like cut his mum's face up, so that's a pretty big thing. If I like took a knife and slashed my mum's face up, I'd be expecting to get some severe punishments as well. But damn. But that's the thing though. The way his mum talks about it, like, have you learnt your lesson yet? And the fact that they just have a torture dungeon set up in their house makes me feel as though this isn't a punishment they're using because of the severity of Killua's crime against the family. I feel like this is just what they do at all when you disobey them, right? I feel like, on the one hand, you could argue, well, the reason they're going to such extremes in punishments is because Killua's... the thing that Killua did was so extreme, you know, stabbing his brother and his mum in the face, right? That's pretty severe, and therefore severe punishment. But I think the way in which they're acting, like, have you learned your lesson? And the fact that they just have this dungeon set up and just there ready, makes me feel like this is a very common punishment that they do. And yeah, that does make sense, right? Like, if you step out of line, we're going to punish you very severely, and that's going to force you onto the straight and narrow path, right? It makes sense. It is how kind of I'd expect a family like this to operate. Damn, I wonder which brother Killua stabbed. Because there's the fat one, there's also Illumi. I think Illumi mentioned a name though, right? He said, I heard you carved up something something. I think he mentioned a name. I don't think Illumi is the one he stabbed. Also because Killua seems quite afraid of Illumi and unwilling to fight him. It could be the fat one. You know, a situation where like, oh, he stabbed you so you get to be the one who tortures him in return as a payback kind of thing. Or it could easily be one of the other brothers we haven't met. We know there's one daughter. We know there's 3 brothers. And I believe it was 5 children in total, so that leaves 2 unaccounted for. It's possible that the one hiding in the bushes was the one that was with the mother, but it's also possible that it was a completely different one, although that's unlikely. That final section was very similar to the Hanzo situation. Man, I want Gon to like catch a break. He's been through so much recently. First, that fight with Hanzo where he just got beaten to a pulp for 3 hours, you know, vomiting, having his arm broken, just beaten to an absolute pulp. And now he's just recovered from that, literally like the same day that he recovered from his broken arm. He goes through it again, getting the crap beaten out of him for ages. And it's like, guys, give Gon a break. Jesus Christ. let him chill out, let him rest. Have it like give him like a little bowl of sweets or something. Like, Jesus Christ, I feel so bad for him. He's been through so much in just the last few days, honestly. Like, goddamn. Just give him a hug, man. Give him a hug. No wonder his mum didn't want him to become a hunter. Like, you see the shit that he's had to go through in the exam and since the exam. No wonder she doesn't want him to be a hunter. Like, I wouldn't want my son to be a hunter if this is how it worked. Like, no, hell no, I don't want you to go through the training exam. You know how many people die in the hunter exam? Hell no, you're not doing that. No way in hell. Whew, Jesus. But yeah, it seems as though they are very strict with not letting people in, right? Because I was questioning that, is like, if you have the training gate, like if someone comes with the intention of killing you, the family, and they understand that the testing door, the testing gate, and they know how it works, then really all you're doing is making sure that only an assassin of particular strength can make it through the gate, which is like, I guess the logic would be if you're that strong, you're probably going to make it through anyway, just because, you know, you're really powerful, I guess. Yeah, I guess there's no downside, because a weaker assassin would just get killed by Mike anyway, so it's not really a big deal, yeah. You know what, it doesn't really matter, yeah. But I said that one guard, the guy with the mustache and who was smoking a lot, he tried to get in 3 years ago with a group of people. Maybe they were like bandits or assassins or something who were trying to break into the house, and they just got slaughtered by it. Looked like the same butler apprentice that we saw just now in this episode. Yeah, they tried to break in and they just got slaughtered. He survived somehow and is now working as a guard. So that's an interesting dynamic. Like, oh, you murdered all my friends? Sure, I'll work for you. Or maybe that was the condition of his survival. Like, yes, we will let you live, but only if you work for us as a guard. And it's not like you can escape a gang of elite assassins, right? If they want you dead, then they're going to track you down and kill you, right? So you can't just run away. So that could be the situation. And yeah, and then the situation with the butler, where she was just, every time he'd come, she'd just whack him away, and he'd just keep coming forward. And it's like I said, right? It's like dripping water on a rock, right? The rock is so much stronger, so much tougher, so much harder than a single drop of water. But if you just keep dripping that water over and over again for days and weeks and months and years and decades and centuries, eventually that rock is going to be eroded away and the water's going to be the victor, right? That slow, patient erosion of the enemy's defenses can work, you know? It reminds me of the Waters of Mars episode of Doctor Who, where you've got these creatures who can produce water, and they are able to get past all of the defenses that everyone sets up, because it doesn't matter if their only power is water, because they can just shoot water, and over the course of hours and hours and hours, they'll slowly make their way through, because in the end, water always wins, because it can just keep coming, and it doesn't matter how tough your defenses it doesn't matter how tough your defenses are, they're just going to get eroded away over time, and there's nothing that can stop it, right? It reminds me of that a lot, where Gon, he just has that mental willpower where he just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming, and it doesn't matter how tough you are or how strong you are, you just can't deal with that level of mental fortitude unless you are willing to kill them. And we know that the butler apprentice is willing to kill because she killed the group that arrived 3 years ago, right? She killed all of them except for that one guy. So I think the reason she didn't kill I think the reason she didn't kill Gon just outright, one, maybe because he's a kid, right? Maybe she has some moral standard. Be that I can see 3 options, right? One, she didn't kill him because he's a kid and she has morals and she's not willing to kill a kid. She has that like logic where she'll only kill you if she feels you're like old enough to have properly assessed the risk, right? Kind of like how the legal system works, where if you're too young, they can't convict you the same way they would convict an adult, right? Option 2 would be that she doesn't normally kill people, but the people who arrived 3 years ago were particularly violent and dangerous, right? They were posing a real threat, and that's why she was forced to kill them. Whereas Gon wasn't really posing a threat; he was just walking forward, right? He wasn't a threat, so she didn't need to respond with that level of violence. Or option 3 is that the reason she didn't kill him is because she remembered that Gon was Killua's friend, and even though she wanted to act like, how can you prove that? Even she wanted to act cold about it, she knew in reality that this was Gon's friend, this was Killua's friend, and she didn't want Gon to be killed because she does deep down care about Killua, right? And that's the thing at the end, right? Is eventually her mental fortitude wore down, and she was like, "Oh right, I'll let you through. Please save Killua." And then it looks like she got shot. Is she dead? Like, my first reaction is that she's dead, right? Maybe she's alive. She could be alive. Maybe next episode I find out she just got hit with like a stun gun or something and just boop, knocked her out, but she's not dead. But I'm going to assume that she's dead because it definitely seems like it. It definitely seems like she's dead. Oof, yeah, that is they are not messing around, this family. Like, if you disobey them, then you get shot in the fucking head from point blank range, right? They are not screwing around. And the mother came and said, "Oh, Killua sends a message," but I don't believe that, right? Yes, it is possible that Killua genuinely did say that. It is possible. I'd give it like a 1 or 2% chance that it is genuinely what he said, right? But I think it's far more likely that she's just lying, right? Because why would Killua say that? He was the one who was like, "Oh, Gon will come here, Gon will rescue me," and all that stuff. And there's literally all the mother has to do is just pretend that Killua said that, right? So it is possible that Killua genuinely did say that, but yeah, no, I'm not buying it, right? It's like a 1% chance he actually said that. It is possible, but it's far, far more likely that she's just making stuff up. The mother's attitude is interesting because she's so violent. She's having her son tortured. She killed the butler, presumably with a gun, right? Like, she is very violent, and yet she still gives off this caring, motherly aura, right? Like, she's so worried for... like, she still gives off that caring, motherly, I want what's best for you aura. Because a lot of the time with villainous mothers in shows, they'll act like that, like, "Oh, I care about you, I want what's best for you," but they'll have this kind of tone, right? They'll have this tone to the voice where it's kind of cold. like the Disney evil stepmother, like, yes, I care greatly about what happens to you. Where like they're saying the words, but you can tell from their attitude and their cold voice that they don't actually believe it. But with Killua's mum, she sounds like she cares, right? She sounds like she genuinely believes what she's saying. And that goes into what I was talking about the other episode with Illumi, where I don't think Illumi is evil in the normal sense of the word, because he truly believes that what he is doing is what is best for Killua, right? He thinks that what he is doing is in Killua's best interest because of his warped view of the world and his warped mindset. And the mum seems to be the same situation. She is a caring mother. She genuinely does care about Killua, and that's why she shows so much care. It's just that her perception of the world is so warped that this is her way of caring, right? So her emotion towards her son isn't at all fake. It's just that the way she expresses that emotion is really fucked up because of the life she has and her perspective on everything. But how are they going to deal with this? I mean, is Killua's family the type to just murder indiscriminately? They are assassins, and they did just murder that butler, but they only murdered the butler because she didn't do her job, right? Which is fucked up. Still, I'm not denying that. It's totally messed up. But it's not like they just fucking got their pistol out and bang bang shot her for no reason, right? Like they had a reason for killing her. It's the same thing I say with Hizuka, right? There is a bar there's a line you need to cross. There's a line you need to cross in order for him to kill you. That line is very low, but there is a line, right? And it may be the same situation with this assassin family where it's very easy to get them to kill you, but you do still need to cross that line before they do it, right? And it's not like she's just going to murder Gon here, right? I mean, that's obvious because Gon is the main character and he needs to live, right? It's just, he's not going to die. Neither is Leoria or Krapika, right? They're going to survive this. So it's not as though she's going to successfully murder them. But it's a question of whether she wants to try to murder them, right? But yeah. Man, Killua is in such a messed up situation right now. Like, being tortured by your own family, that's going to give you some really messed up personality stuff. Because just think about how, just like children who have been like abused by their family just under normal circumstances, how like messed up they could end up turning out, like with the things that can do to a person's mind. Now, like, turn that up to 11 where your family is literally chaining you up and torturing you, just how deeply that could affect a person, right? Just the level of mental scarring that could leave a person with. It's yeah, that's a very serious deal. And the thing is, even if Gon and all them do make it to the house, how the hell are they even going to rescue Killua? Because let's assume that Killua is the baseline. It's safe to assume that Illumi and Killua's parents, at the very least, are a lot stronger than Killua, right? Let's give Killua the benefit of the doubt and say he is the strongest out of all of his siblings except for Illumi. That's probably not the case. In fact, I'd say it's more likely that he's one of the weakest. But let's just give him some credit for the sake of argument and say he is the strongest, with the exception of the parents and Illumi, and maybe the grandparents too. That's still way too much, right? How the hell are you supposed to take Killua away? Like, I feel that's the point of the plan that, okay, you make it through all the tests, you make it to the Zoldyck estate and meet the family. Now what? Okay, what's the rest of your plan? You know? Like, what are you supposed to do now? Just walk out of that? It's not like you're not going to let you... Oh, Killua's going to come around to my place for a few days. Is that all right? Like, no, that's not going to happen. They're willing to torture their own son to keep him there. Something tells me they're not going to just let him walk out the front door, right? So, okay, they make it to the house. Now what do you actually even do to get him with you, right? It's not like you can run away, because presumably this family is way more powerful and probably way faster than you. They can catch up easily. Like, but Killua was able to run away, though. That's the thing. Killua was able to run away to begin with, on his own, from his entire family. So if Killua on his own was able to run away, but Gon and Kurapika and Leorio aren't on the same level as Killua is the thing. And Killua looks very injured right now. He's been tortured, so it's not like he's at 100% right now. Okay, so the fact that Killua was able to run away to begin with shows that it is possible to run away from them. It's not impossible to do that, but that doesn't mean much because the bar is still set so high with it being Killua who escaped. And we also don't fully understand the circumstances of Killua escaping either, right? It's not as though he was just in the middle of a family dinner surrounded by his entire family and ran out the door, right? It's probably a much more specific circumstance that allowed him to run away. But yeah, it's already getting a bit late, so I don't want to... I could probably talk a bit longer if I wanted to, but I don't want to because I don't want to waste too much time, so I'm gonna head over to the next episode now. I'll probably only be able to watch one more. We'll see how things go. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like the video if you liked it and all that jazz, and subscribe if you want to be notified when I upload more, because, I mean, that's always a good thing to do, right? Share the video if you want to get the word out. That's extremely helpful. And yeah, I'll see you next time.